13.3 billion rands worth of government personal protective equipment expenditure is now subject to investigation by the SIU. The head of the unit says 26% of the entire investigation has been finalised. These are some of the findings by the unit. It has just released it about the PPE scandal that is still rocking the country.
As at the date of the release of these progress reports and the outcomes, a total of 2,556 PPE contracts were awarded to the state institutions, and the value of those contracts awarded amounted to 13.3 billion. And that is the one that is a subject of investigation. These contracts were awarded. Now, once we assess that the allegations relate to a certain number of contracts, we then dive deep and check which service providers are affected. So these contracts related to a number of 1,774 service providers. Now, as we speak, as we report today, investigations into about 164 contracts, and that translates to 26% of the contracts that I've mentioned, to the value of 3.5 billion have been finalized.
More now from Advocate Andy Motibe. He says political pressure is just one of the reasons that played a role in the awarding of personal protective equipment tenders. Some companies were decided upon even before the supply chain management process had in fact started.
Bear in mind that the national state of disaster was declared on the 15th March 2020, whereafter the PPE procurement process commenced. We found that certain service providers were found to have only been registered on the CIPC during February and March 2020, and thus they would not or could not have demonstrable track records. Companies awarded contracts were not registered on the central supplier database. Certain service providers were already in the deregistration process when they quoted and were awarded the contracts. The type of goods supplied were not consistent with the nature of the business for which companies are registered on the CIPC, and they should not have been requested to quote for the services that were required. Product specifications were ignored, and products that were not suitable for its intended purpose were purchased, and several instances against the advice of expert opinion on the usefulness of the product.